thank you for giving us the opportunity to present. I can speak for the rest of this team by saying we've worked very hard on this project and we're looking forward for you to experience this with us. So our project was called 3 Degrees. My name is Conor Flood. I'm currently studying economics with a double minor in business from the School of Ross and environmental studies. And I'd like you to meet the rest of my team.
Hi everyone, my name is Rashi. I'm a major in organizational studies with a minor in business and quantitative methods.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I'm a senior studying art and design through Penny Stamps, and I'm also minoring in entrepreneurship.
And my name is Hershy. I'm a senior studying econ and psych, along with minoring in history and business. And yeah, we can head to the next slide. So we kind of wanted to give some context of why and how we started. And so it kind of started all in Costco. I was in Costco. It kind of hit me while I was walking that, a lot of the stuff, the reason why people come to Costco is not only the variety, but also how cheap all the products are. And people actually, in fact, pay a premium membership to go to Costco for the cheaper goods. And I think it was around that same time that the turtles in the ocean hashtag save the turtles was really going around. So it was the save the turtles and just waste overall was very prevalent on my feeds and on the top of my mind. And so when I was shopping in Costco and buying like these plastic forks and stuff for a party, I just realized that, the compostable options, which can actually help save the turtles and also save the world, is just not as prevalent. And it kind of got me thinking as to like why. And so that's kind of exactly why 3 Degrees was born. At least the origin of the name came from the fact that if we don't take any action as a global society, in 2100, there will be a 3 degrees Celsius temperature increase. So that's where that name came from, because waste and climate change are very interconnected.
So the problem we were trying to solve is an unsustainable off-campus climate in Ann Arbor due to unaffordability. We know that plastic products are really cheap and compostable products, which are sustainable, are really expensive. We decided our solution can be using a group purchasing organization model to bulk buy for local restaurants in Ann Arbor. But we did face a problem. And like the BLI says, we wanted to expect challenges, and that's what happened. COVID hit it around March, and we had plans for working with restaurants in the fall, but because of the impact of COVID, a lot of restaurants were really struggling and weren't ready to implement something new in their business. On the next slide, you can see that we used a 4-pronged approach to this problem, and we decided to expand our audience from restaurants to Greek life in Ann Arbor, because they are off-campus organizations, and we realized that they do generate a lot of waste. And we had to redefine our problem statement to say not only to tackle the unaffordability of compostable products, but also the inaccessibility problem. And so through our 4-pronged approach, we decided to tackle that. Through Greek Life, we implemented a can recycling program. We also focused on education, so not only making sure that we make these products cheap and accessible, but also making sure that people understand how to properly dispose them. We approached this also by having really good marketing. You can follow 3 Degrees on Instagram to see some of the work that we've done. And we stayed true to our original goal of using a group purchasing organization model to help Greek life be more sustainable.
All right, and as far as how we've evolved through the Capstone program, with the help of the Capstone program, we've really understood and learned just how important it is to back everything that we assume or all of our claims with data. And one way that they have taught this to us is that and when it comes to competing information, if you don't look for information, that information will find you. And so one way where we're able to mitigate that is through development, through our research and through our focus groups, the focus groups being our next slide that we'll be talking about, going more in depth with interviews and surveys and with stakeholder mapping and benchmarking.
So taking a deep dive into some of the learning approaches and the learning mindset that Stephanie was talking about, the very first thing we did was send out a climate survey, a campus climate survey that got a lot of interest, a lot more than we thought. And it basically had 2 components to it. One, really understanding like what are people's perceptions of their own behavior along with the behavior of others on campus. And then the second was marketing. And so kind of taking a deep dive into the first part of our survey, which was the campus climate, understanding behavior, we really wanted to understand like what are barriers that people face when not purchasing compost, or like just not being as sustainable as they possibly could. And this activity had a huge impact in our problem statement shift that Rashi mentioned. Why do we go from just looking at money, but also looking at convenience, by also looking at inaccessibility, the education piece. And a lot of it was backed by the survey data that we gathered. And the second part is marketing. And so we had a logo at this time, but we really wanted to make sure that 3 Degrees was just not only just a, like an initiative, but it actually was a symbolic representation of sustainability that people actually remembered. And just the fact that like logos just carry a lot of meaning, like a Patagonia logo when you just slap it on a jacket, it just means a lot more. And so we kind of wanted 3 Degrees to also have that same representation of, but with sustainability. And so we did a lot of outreach and making sure that people resonate with our new logo choices and that it makes sense for 3 Degrees as an initiative. And so the next learning mindset is an ecosystem map. And this is something that we created because we really just wanted to understand what space are we working in? Are we engaging with as many stakeholders as possible? And are we not excluding any voices from our assumptions and conversation? And so this led to a lot of different ideas and allowed us to do outreach to a lot of different stakeholders. Like I can give an example real quick. We reached out to a couple of people at the University of Michigan that I currently maintaining connections with because of like this exercise. And so this is a really good way to just understand what the sphere and the industry that we're working in. And then lastly, we have our focus groups. And so this happened a little bit, this is in a sequential time. So the focus groups kind of happened after we sent out that survey and understood the baseline of what people were thinking. And so we wanted to understand like what kind of signage is important, what will motivate people to be sustainable, addressing some of those non-affordability barriers. When we were talking about our marketing strategy, what kinds of posts appeal to people and what kinds of more nitty-gritty things can we get into in order to make 3 Degrees a brand that represents sustainability.
So as Rashi had pointed out earlier, one of the challenges we faced in implementing our business model was COVID, as the entire world was facing this problem as well. But what we realized is that even though COVID was an issue for us, it actually was a blessing in disguise because we were able to focus on other aspects that we wouldn't have normally focused on. So part of the reason we were able to enact that is because of the BLI workshops and the habits we gained through the program. We took a lot of action-based methods in the process. And through the BLI bootcamp, the constant team meetings, the working with our graduate student instructor, Bree, we were able to not only learn more about each other and as a team, but also the business model further so that we were able to be more successful in the long run.
So one of the things included focusing on education, and we wanted to really appeal to our demographic and make it interactive. A lot of undergraduate students do something called alcohol EDU before they start college, and that really allows them to retain some information about being safe with that kind of substance. And so we wanted to use a similar approach in that using an interactive game to teach students about how to not cross-contaminate. And essentially what that means is contamination happens when you put trash in a compost bin or maybe trash in a recycling bin, and that really ruins the entire consistency of the bin, and you would have to throw all of that out, which is a complete waste of the efforts that other people have put in and can lead to more waste than less. We also created a BuzzFeed quiz to tell people about recycling. Most people do know how to recycle, but just re-educating them about the basics and coming up with certain items that are often wrongly recycled.
All right, and on the marketing side that we've been doing at the same time too is with our rebrand. Towards the left, you can see that logo is what we had right about when I was arriving. And so we wanted to do a rebrand because we wanted to get started with social media and get on with engagement. And one way we wanted to show what kind of growth that we had gone through the program was through the rebrand. And we had also done 2 case studies at around this time too. And we were learning a lot of how we can gain more engagement. One way being through what they call medium rich versus medium lean content. And one way that we're striving towards the former was to have different taste tests. So this is a picture of our first one that we will be releasing soon.
So another method we wanted to implement is through Greek life, as mentioned earlier. So we wanted to build a sustainability mindset through these organizations like IFC and Panhell. And we wanted to create a connection with 3 Degrees so that we could establish connection and teach them how to be more sustainable in the future. So our first step is we created a relationship with the Interfraternity Council, or IFC. So what many of us in our group did was created a fraternity proposal, and it ended up being approved by the IFCE board. So this has been huge for us because it's the first step to establishing relationships with fraternities and sororities in order to make them more sustainable, as they're in general extremely unsustainable organizations. And then bulk buying. What we wanted to do was create a compostable product contract with 4 suppliers that we had flexibility, and then could go to these organizations like Greek Life and restaurants and give them compostable products for cheaper. Due to COVID and due to other struggles, we're continuing this in the future, but because we've established relationships with both restaurants and Greek Life, and we've established a contract with a vendor, it looks extremely positive for the future. And thank you for listening.